general updates about PBOT and sort of where we are with COVID and racial justice. We've got a special guest, Mike, who will talk about our COVID response, Low Street's Healthy Business Work. Just give you sort of a taste of that, that effort. The project status quick updates. We will just sort of give you a lightning round of some of the Central City in Motion projects you've been hearing about for the past few meetings and update you on where we are on those. Peter Finley Fry, committee member, had a proposal for project subcommittees that we'd like to discuss a little bit. And then we'll save the bulk of the rest of the meeting for 3 breakouts to talk about projects. And many of you have already voted on which projects you'd like to talk about. So that's the agenda plan. Just a couple disclaimers here, or requests, I guess, for the Zoom format. Just note that both the video of the meeting is being recorded, also the chat. These are public records, so engage accordingly. If you haven't had a chance already, it looks like most of you have to change your name on Zoom so it reflects your name. That would be super helpful for us as we try and facilitate. If you can mute yourself when you're not speaking, and feel free to use the chat to ask any questions as we go. All right, let's go ahead and do introductions. I think we'll just
I can just call people that I see in order.
That would be so lovely. So my name's Gabe. I'm the project manager of Central City in Motion at PBOT.
And Brianna Orr, I'm a project manager here at PBOT and Central City Motion as well. And the first person I see on the screen is Peter.
I'm unmuting. I'm Peter Finley Fry. I'm just here as a citizen, although I own property in Northwest Portland and I live in Corbin on a farm. And I will wait later to talk about the committees unless you want to talk. Okay, thank you.
How about Christopher?
Hi, I'm Chris Ewan. I'm just an interested resident that lives in the northwest Portland. I'm also a transit planner with Jarrett Walker and Associates.
Okay. Jaime?
I'm Jaime. I'm a PhD student in Sustainable Transportation at PSU, and also I live in downtown Portland.
Okay, good to see you. And then next I see Ryan.
Hello, my name is Ryan Hashigan. I run Icicle Tricycles here in Old Town and also an activist with Better Block PDX. Good to see you all.
Good to see you, thanks. And then Tara? Oh, I think we can't hear you, Tara. It looks like you're unmuted, but it might be a microphone issue, which I had earlier, so. Oh, you're calling in. So maybe you need to unmute your phone setting.
Sorry, Tara, I'll take the liberty of introducing you for a second. Tara is our member from OHSU. Thank you for being here, Tara.
Well, glad you can hear us, and feel free to hang up and dial back in if you want to try. Otherwise, just chat at us if you want to say something during the meeting. Emily.
Hi, I'm Emily Geis. I'm a activist with Bike Loud PDX, and yeah, that's about it.
Great, thanks. Jillian?
Me, Tony Jordan, parking advocate, parking reform advocate in town, and that's it. Yeah.
Great. And Jillian?
Hi, I'm Jillian Detweiler. I'm the executive director at the Street Trust.
Okay. And next I see Amanda.
Hi everybody, Amanda Howell. I am a project manager, researcher with the University Urbanism Next Center at the University of Oregon. and I do a lot of research around curb management issues. So I'm interested in this from the research perspective, but I also live in the Inner East Side.
Great, thanks. Alice?
Hi, everybody. I'm Alice Miller. I also work at OHSU in the Institute on Development and Disability. I'm a researcher and a disability and accessibility advocate.
Great, thanks for being here. Mike Sartella.
Hey everyone, Mike Saratella. I'm the transportation planner at PBOT on the area and project planning team, and I'll be talking about the Safe Streets, Healthy Businesses work in just a little bit.
Great, thanks. And Nico?
Hi everyone, my name's Nico. I'm a planner and public outreach professional, and I live in Northwest Portland.
Great. Clint?
Clint Culpepper. I am representing Portland State University, not on the committee, but here to, in case input is needed from our side of things. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Zeph?
Yeah, I'm Zeph Wagner. I'm a transportation planner at PBOT, and helped out with kind of the planning process around Central City in Motion.
And Adam?
Hi, Adam Zucker. I'm a water resource engineer. I own my own consulting practice, and here mostly because do a lot of work and live on the east side.
Great, thanks for being here. Izzy?
Hey everyone, Izzy with Oregon Walks. It took me 10 minutes to realize my video was off. Yeah, Oregon Walks. As of yesterday, I used to live downtown, but now I'm at Pickeys Hollow, so there's boxes, but still transportation and walking focus, even though I don't live downtown anymore.
Thanks. Ian?
Hi, I'm Ian McKenzie. I'm an architect. I'm on the Bicycle Advisory Committee. Not on this committee, I'm just here to watch.
Thanks for being here. Brenda?
Hi, I'm Brenda Martin. I work at TriMet as a service planner, and I have been working on some of the ETC CCIM projects. So I will be in one of the breakout rooms talking about Hawthorne today.
Great. Reza?
Hi everyone, I'm Reza Farhudi. I'm a Central City resident and Safe Streets advocate, and I'm also a professional transportation planner.
Thanks. And I think lastly, John Isaacs.
Hey there, everyone. This is John Isaacs. I'm the Vice President of Government Affairs for the Portland Business Alliance. I have to be on the phone Zoom today because I will be in transit somewhere. Thanks for your patience.
Thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here.
I think I got everybody, but someone go ahead and speak up if I missed you. All right, sounds like we got everybody, so we will continue ahead.
Thank you so much. It's so good to see all of your faces again. I guess if there's anyone, we slotted out some time for public comment. Is there anyone who would care to give us any public comment in the next 5 minutes? Okay, that sounds good. We can hold 5 minutes for public comment at the end as well. Let's see here. PBOT updates. I will just give you sort of a rapid fire of quite a bit has changed in our workplace, just like I imagine it's changed in the work and lives of all of you. We at staff at PBOT will not be returning to the Portland building until spring of 21 at the earliest. We'll continue to be in this virtual setting for that long, perhaps longer. We'll get better at Zooming. I wanted to speak a little bit about our director's commitment to PBOT becoming an anti-racist organization, and just sort of get you up to speed on that. Mike will speak a little bit more about the COVID response that we're doing, but Chris Warner outlined this sort of this anti-racist racial justice effort at an all-hands meeting, which had over 500 Peabotters virtually calling in. And I just want to share with you that what I'll do is I'll paraphrase what he says. I mean, just talk about some of these efforts very quickly. And then if you have interest in learning more, you can let us know. So Chris affirmed that Peabot stands in solidarity with the Black community and that Peabot as an organization will not remain silent on issues of social justice and human rights. We acknowledge that that Peabot has contributed to historic pain and burdens in Portland's Black community, that we have contributed to racial segregation, inequities, and marginalizations in Portland, and that we hold ourselves accountable for addressing those concerns. There's a bureau-wide effort to develop sort of a plank of efforts on that front, and 15 pages of suggestions. We've boiled it down to these 4 core areas of work that we're sort of prioritizing initially: workforce support and accountability, training for managers on how to support and ensure staff are supported, particularly staff of color. Also addressing sort of our hiring and our hiring pools and pipelines, transportation policy intervention, supporting and empowering Black Portland, and finally reimagining right-of-way using a racial equity framework. We are working on a refresh of our racial equity plan. We are working on a Black Portland Matters public art initiative. We are re-examining many of our street names in coordination with other citywide actions around, statues and parks and stuff that you have seen other cities taking action on to address the fact that much of our city is named after people with white supremacist ties. So we've got a lot of work to do, and I just wanted just for the committee to be aware that that as bureau staff that we are gearing up to try and tackle this ambitious agenda, and we know we have a lot of work to do. We could spend a lot of time talking about that, but I'll keep moving. If folks have further questions, feel free to ping me, and I can get you to the right people who are spearheading those initiatives. I'll also take a moment to address sort of our funding situation. We've got many projects that are in design or in construction. We anticipate those will proceed. As you can imagine, well, generally, driving and gas tax is an inelastic funding source. So even during the recession in 2008, our funding was fairly stable from the transportation side, but a stay-at-home order had a real impact on driving, as you might imagine. So the Fixing Our Streets 1 effort, which is funding a few outstanding projects, including Southwest 4th, which we'll talk about, we're still calibrating how much revenue was the delta between the revenue we expected or were counting on for those projects and what was actually collected. And good news, our Fixing Our Streets 2 measure passed in May with outstanding support across Portland, so we're very pleased about that. Those projects are just gearing up now. And then Metro voted recently to refer Get Moving Portland, or T2020, a transportation ballot, to the fall ballot, which includes a bunch of funding for projects across the region, but quite a bit of funding for transit priority, bike projects, safety, pedestrian improvements in our central city. So we've been working closely on getting all of that sort of packaged up and ready for Metro. And should that pass, we will have a bunch of additional work and lots more projects for you guys to dig in on. I also wanted to acknowledge Tara, who this will be her last meeting. Tara's going to continue working at OHSU, but she's moving to Austin. So Really appreciate all of the work and time that you've put into the committee, Tara. Thank you. Okay. Also, we have a new website, portland.gov. In the cage match between Portland, Maine and Portland, Oregon, apparently we won the domain contest. And Central City in Motion has a new page as well that I think does a better job of highlighting the work that we currently have underway, our construction projects, and sort of clearer contact information. So
can I just say two things about that?
Please.
Yeah, so so this is super exciting. I think it's going to be a much more intuitive experience for everybody, easier to find information that they're looking for. So I encourage you to test it out. Included links in this PowerPoint slide. And we're building out project pages right now for all the Central City in Motion projects. We're probably 50 to 75% of the way there. And there's also a couple great features with the new website, including being able to search for construction projects and see construction projects across the city all in one place. And then we also have kind of a citywide place for events. So you can, you go to one place and you can kind of search keywords or search a neighborhood. So feel free to please check it out. Let us know what you think. If there are things that can be improved, we'd love to hear it.
Awesome. I think at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mike to talk a little bit about our Slow Streets, Healthy Streets. And Mike, I think I'm going to let you share your screen.
Oh,
Okay.
sure. Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, no problem.
How does I have a confession.
I can share if that's easier.
There it is. There it is. Okay. Desktop 2. Thank you all for bearing with me.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, you know what, Brianna? I don't have it set up on my
Okay. Yeah,
computer
gotcha.
to do this. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I'm
Gotcha.
using my PC.
Just 1 sec. There we go.
Cool.
All right, is that working for folks?
Great.
Oh,
All right.
okay, just
well,
let me know when you want me to change the
Yeah,
slide.
I have a little bell. Just kidding. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Mike Saratella. I work on the planning team, and I've been pretty closely involved in all aspects of our Safe Streets initiative. Here to talk mostly about our healthy businesses work in the Central City, but also to give kind of a snapshot of the whole program as a whole. Next slide. So while our healthy businesses, street seats and outdoor dining and all these other uses of the right of way are kind of the most visible thing that's happening in the moment, it's really just a piece of a much larger bureau-wide strategy around COVID response and recovery. And you can find a lot more information if you visit safestreetspdx.com. There you can read a bunch of background information. You can look at a report that kind of outlines this many-year strategy about not just COVID response, but also the kind of lingering economic recovery work that we're thinking about, as well as look at an interactive map of where all the things are on the ground. So next, please. So broadly speaking, our COVID response work is built around 4 kind of overlapping and intersecting scenarios. What we need to do today to respond to the challenges of social distancing on our streets is different than what we'll need in 6 weeks or a year, in 5 years from now. And so while right now, kind of the main focus and attention is on providing safe space for physical distancing on our streets and in our commercial districts, we're thinking about how all of these elements kind of tie into these kind of future efforts around getting people back to work, reinvigorating our business community, and ultimately ending up at a better future than the one that we left behind in March. Next. So here we are today, just past the stay-at-home order and kind of in this long phase of supporting physical distancing, which likely seems that it will be, for a year or until a vaccination or a really kind of viable treatment is available. So next. So this particular phase, supporting physical distancing on our streets, is really built around 3 kind of core strategies. It's our slow streets work, which we rolled out early, and as well as our safer busy streets and our healthy businesses work. So I'll just give a quick run through on each of those. So next. So our slow streets work was really based around strengthening our existing neighborhood greenway network. So if you remember back to April, there was a lot of kind of demand for the safe spaces for people to walk and bike while also maintaining physical distance on our street. And luckily, we've spent the last 30 years kind of building this citywide comprehensive network of neighborhood greenways. So what we decided to do was, rather than kind of come out with new spots, to really focus on our existing network and making those safer and better for people to get around. So you may have seen next these kind of very simple, kind of bare bones, local access only and signage interventions. These are advisory restrictions that encourage people when they intersect a neighborhood greenway to turn off and keep those streets calm and mellow for people to walk, bike, and roll. This is especially important because as we are seeing in other cities, as people are coming back to work and things are beginning to reopen, there's a big switch away from transit towards driving and biking. And so we want to make sure our greenways, which is kind of the foundational active transportation network in our system, are protected. Next. So right now there's 100 of these out on the ground, kind of on our existing network all over the city. And we have 100 more ready to go. And those are really focused on expanding our low stress network in areas where the existing system really lacks. In East Portland, in Southwest Portland, kind of supercharging some of the Southwest in Motion work, and in areas of Brentwood, Darlington, and the kind of general lower Southeast Portland. Next. The next bit is our safer busy streets, and this is really focused on creating extra space for walking on our busier arterials where walking the street's not really an option, and also maintaining physical distance is difficult because there's either constrained or missing sidewalks. Next. And I have like pretty exciting news is that this one was a little bit more tricky for us to get on the ground, but we actually broke ground on it today. So we've been focusing mostly on deploying this in East Portland in our pedestrian districts. So we have our first kind of phase 1 work beginning today. Really focused on better areas for waiting for transit, curb extensions at high crash intersections in ped districts, and kind of shared active transportation space where bike lanes or on-street parking is next to narrow or missing sidewalks, and we can kind of create a safer, safe passage. Next. So now we're here on our healthy businesses work, kind of the main event for tonight. So this was really an all hands on deck by PBOT and our planning and our permitting team to really figure out how we could adapt the right-of-way to help support the kind of unique challenges around physical distancing requirements that our businesses were facing. Next. And so in doing that, we created this thing called the Healthy Businesses Toolkit, which provided a menu of different options, ranging from things like pickup and drop-off zones to reimagine kind of curb zone areas called parking plazas where businesses could expand and create new spaces for outdoor dining, to bigger interventions around called like side street plazas where minor streets that intersect with our commercial districts were closed kind of entirely to create a much larger space that could be programmed by one or multiple businesses. And really the ultimate intervention is this Main Street Plaza concept. And our first one was actually in the Central City on Southwest Harvey Milk Street. But this has been something that we're also exploring in other parts of the city. And I'm happy to also announce that Monday we'll be having our first one outside of the Central City on Denver Avenue in Kenton. So in the Central City, we've seen, there's been a lot of interest in this program. We've gotten 650 applications citywide since we launched in June. And just to put that number in context, Seattle has a similar permitting program for outdoor seating, and they've received 60 applications. So, you know, kudos to us, right? We're doing much better than Seattle. That's what this is all about, right? So next, this has been particularly well received and enthusiastically received by the Central City, where we've seen nearly 1 in 3 of our healthy business permits coming out of areas that are in the Central City in Motion kind of study area boundary. And so that's awesome, because while it's worked really well on some of our smaller kind of neighborhood main streets, all of the streets, or many of the streets in the Central City kind of share those kind of mixed use, high activity, high pedestrian activity areas that these spaces really need to be successful. So yeah, we've seen over 200 applications, or we've processed over 200 applications in the Central City, the vast majority of which are outdoor dining. So this is reimagining that curb zone area to provide extra space for outdoor seating, but also quite a bit of pickup and drop off, short-term pickup and drop off, and 10 outdoor plaza applications that have been processed. So if we go to the next slide. So here's a picture of Southwest Harvey Milk Street, which is kind of our one of our more transformational installations that is currently happening. So if you get a chance to go here, we've actually closed the entire street to automobile traffic, still accessible by bikes, allowing McMenamins to kind of come out and create quite a bit of outdoor seating. And actually Jake's has joined on and is going to be expanding into the parking zone adjacent to their business too. And I'm really excited when I see this happening, because what this really has been is a big learning experience kind of for us, and also for a lot of our small business community, about the kind of value of all the public space and all the right of way that's in downtown, and how we can use that and kind of adapt that space to meet our business needs, to support activity, and also just to help create vibrant and pedestrian friendly spaces. Next. So what's next on deck for us? Next. You know, one of the things that we haven't seen and that is kind of top of mind for us is as many applications in kind of the higher equity areas of the city. And so we're kind of reallocating our staff time and our resources, seeking grants to help support expanding this program to higher equity areas of the city. So specifically work on the MLK corridor, where we've seen a lot of applications on Mississippi and Alberta and Williams. We haven't seen that same level of applications, and we want to make sure that this benefit and the resources that come along with this benefit can help benefit that space as well. Also in East Portland, where things like parking plazas may be challenging for businesses to see them working well, especially in areas where there's high volumes of traffic or fast-moving vehicles. We've been expanding our toolkit to include something like what I have pictured here, which is a parking lot plaza, which technically isn't ours to permit, but we have resources, staff capacity, and we can help coordinate that work so that more and more of this is kind of happening citywide. Next. And so Central City in Motion and the Safe Streets Initiative, how do they kind of work with one another? When Brianna asked me to visit, I thought pretty critically about this, and I was like, you know, I went back to Central City in Motion, which is mostly, you know, really centers on safety and mobility and using our streets as efficiently as possible to help manage the growth of our city, right? And it's awesome. I love Central City in Motion. And one thing I think that some of the kind of pilot projects that we're working with on Safe Streets can help do is help bring that urban design, the pedestrian-centered place, and help bring kind of elements of placemaking and kind of whimsical urbanism to the city. And it's hard to be in that space right now, given the kind of scale of the challenge that is ahead of us. But we've learned so much, and our business community has learned so much through experimenting with this process, and it's been largely successful so far. And so what I'm curious about, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts, are ways that we can help incorporate the lessons learned from this program to help support Central City in Motion and help support a more walkable, dynamic, and human-centered Central City. Next. So yeah, those are my main questions. And also I'm here to help maybe answer some of your questions you might have about the program. But yeah, what are the connections between this work and the goals of Central City in Motion? And just thinking back to some of those other interventions, which we haven't really seen in the Central City, things like the Slow Streets work or the temporary space for walking or waiting or safe transit access that have been prioritized on the east side and East Portland. Are there ways that you think that we can bring that as we continue to evolve this program? So thank you. Here for questions now.
Awesome, thanks, Mike. We did get a couple questions while you were presenting from Jillian in the chat. And so one of the questions was, where has the Slow Streets been applied downtown? And from the map, looks like we don't have any places downtown where we have Slow Streets.
Yeah, that's correct. So the Slow Streets work the first phase was entirely focused on our existing neighborhood greenway network. And I think there may be a couple of advisory interventions on the north side of the Pearl District. But generally speaking, yes, our Central City doesn't have neighborhood greenways, so it didn't have the policy support for us to apply those interventions. But I am curious about, if there's ideas about how similar types of advisory work could be applied to the Central City.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. And then also asked about a backlog of PBOT review of applications for healthy business.
So our permitting team, our mighty small permitting team, has been working incredibly hard on getting through that. And so we've received 740 applications actually. And we've processed 653, I think, at this point. So we've been saying yes as much as we can, prioritizing the easier ones, the parking plazas, the side street plazas, the pickup and drop off, and then really in the kind of bigger interventions, trying to really kind of close those up. So is there a specific backlog that we're like a specific application that I can check on, or?
I think it was just a general question. We do have a few other questions as well, so maybe we can kind of keep going here. This
Also,
one go ahead, Mike.
I was just gonna say I'll share my contact information, so if other folks have like in the weeds detailed questions, I can help get answers to those too.
Great, thanks. And this one might be more for Gabe and I, but any foreseeable cases where Safe Streets efforts will be at odds with Central City in Motion. In Seattle, some businesses are currently asking for bus lanes to be changed to pick up drop-off zones. Or do the timelines just not really conflict here, since CCIM stretches hopefully will be on COVID? I can just take a stab at that and say that the applications are being reviewed with Central City in Motion projects in mind, in terms of not creating those conflicts. So we have a couple applications that have been approved on Northwest Broadway, for example, but the timeline, you're right, is such that I don't think that there's going to be an issue there with implementation. So
yeah. Currently, the Safe Streets Healthy Business application permits are set to expire November 1st. So very seasonal focused. We are thinking about what a longer term permit might look like. But yeah, we've been trying to coordinate as much as we can to make sure that we're not having to take anything out, especially because this is such a precarious and difficult time for businesses to invest in any kind of outdoor seating infrastructure. There's some pretty hefty installations if you've been around to see, so definitely going to keep that in mind.
Yeah, thanks. Couple questions from Emily. Will we have more substantial barriers for Slow Streets, like in the rendering you showed?
Yeah, I want to. So right now, Emily, do you mean more substantial than a orange barrel with a blinking on it?
Yes. So there's a couple in my neighborhood that I go past almost every day, and they're usually in various configurations. So I would, I would just love to have something that is a bit more preventative and actually forces people to slow down.
Totally. I believe we launched our Slow Streets Guardian. I don't remember the exact names of it, but
the volunteer program.
Yeah, to help maintain those. Yeah, I mean, we're piloting, right? It's in the spirit of pilot for this summer. But I can tell you, as somebody that works on greenways and designs and ideas like that, that we are looking at ways of incorporating advisory kind of gateway portals into our greenway network.
What is a gateway portal?
Just kind of like it's like, I wish I had a picture of one. It's a lot easier to show you. But yeah,
I will.
A small island at the intersection with signage that says that this is a neighborhood greenway, local traffic, cars or guests. I can speak more to Northwest in Motion, which is where this is most close, more kind of, this concept is most developed as a permanent strategy, as sort of these home zone kind of, this is a neighborhood street, cars or guests. So yeah, that's kind of where it's at. There's some pretty cool examples in Australia that I've been shopping around and trying to get incorporated into our design guides. And I actually think that there's a tool that really works very well because they're mostly educational, right? And they help people slow down, and they help people know that they're on a bikeway and so it's something that we're thinking about for sure.
Okay, cool.
Great, thanks. Just catching up here. I think you answered your other question, Emily's other question about how long it's going to last. So through November, at least. And then the permanence, will any of them be made permanent? I think you answered that question as well. Jillian says,
if he did. I'm sorry, I missed it. If he did answer the permanent question.
Go ahead. You want to go?
I was speaking more of like, will the healthy businesses, like, if they do well, will any of them be made permanent? Like,
yeah. So we have an existing kind of permitting program, like thinking specifically to like Mississippi Pizza on Mississippi Avenue, where they have a permit to use that kind of curb zone space, and they have like this very kind of weatherproof structure in place. So that's kind of on it's kind of like on the far end of the spectrum in terms of permanence. Right now, what we're thinking about is how do we bring back this type of enthusiasm around reimagining our right-of-way every summer. If places can weatherize and make them spaces that are usable year-round, then we would be supportive of that. In terms of like the nitty-gritty around like permitting fees, like right now there's no fees for permitting for any of this. It's sort of emergency mode. Our businesses are struggling. We're gonna like do stuff really quickly and not charge anybody any money just to get it on the ground as quickly as possible. I think we need to think more critically about like what the permitting fee structure might look like if we wanted to make this a permanent thing, especially in areas where we have like our parking meters and we rely on that revenue for just our general fund and for projects and things like that. But I hope that this has been an experience for a lot of, I live right next to Mississippi Avenue, and I've been liaisoning with them there, and we have, I think, like 18 or 20 different street seats being built right now. And I've been talking with business owners and people that work at various, restaurants and spaces. And the reception has just been so enthusiastic and so supportive. And so, what I would hope is that at a minimum, for the businesses where it works well for them, that every summer they get the plywood out and they build their structure and they use that space. And that's something that becomes a permanent part of Portland's street life. But honestly, right now, a lot of the kind of way that we've done this quickly is that we've been permitting, not building. And that's kind of how this has all gotten done so quickly. We just say, okay, you can do it, and then let people do it themselves. And so, you know, it's very much kind of at the demand of the businesses that want to have that space.
Another question from Jaime. Will this remain? I think maybe Jaime, you're talking about slow streets in this case. Will this remain in place after the pandemic? Is there any plan for wider sidewalks in downtown?
Wider sidewalks in downtown. So initially when we did our scan of candidate spots for sidewalk widening, a lot of the sidewalk network in downtown did not come up because it is 12 feet, right? Or more in some cases. And so, you know, the areas of the city where that popped up as more urgent was in East Portland, where we have generally less than 8-foot sidewalks that are against the curb, against fast moving traffic. There are a couple pinch points in the network that I've identified that I'd like to see us think about doing some kind of sidewalk widening, specifically kind of over our, around our bridges and around our, over our I-405. But those types of things are a little bit more complicated, and that's why we haven't kind of moved forward in that. I'd be curious to see what this group thinks about that type of application in the central city.
So just a little follow-up with that is that probably, yeah, the sidewalk standard in downtown is probably much better than the other place of the cities, but also I have been going out a lot around here, and I think that the demand for parking has decreased a lot. And then, for example, sometimes you go running or people like with dogs or something, still the sidewalk can be like narrow. So I think that like momentarily at least putting like some cones and taking out some parking lanes for people can walk or run, I think that might sound appropriate, even though it might be better than other places. I still think that it's narrow for like what a good standard in this area should be. That's all.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. So far, like a lot of the work has been very much like about, you know, making extra space for businesses. But if there's activity on the street and you want to maintain physical distance, it's nice to have that extra space. So yeah, bringing that, yeah, I think that's a really good point. I mean, we see it right now. There's all this construction around Galleria site area, not the Galleria, the Ritz-Carlton, where the food trucks were, sadly. And we take a 3-lane arterial down to 1 lane for construction, and it seems to work okay. So I think there's maybe some capacity there.
Thanks. A couple more questions. We got one from Izzy. Do we have thoughts on applying the Safe Streets programming to Safe Routes to School whenever schools are back in session?
Safe Streets programming. So is this like around permitting like play spaces in the right of way or educational spaces in the right of way, or I guess?
Well, I'm just thinking like the barricades and the signs to slow down traffic and allow people to like, walk. So I don't know where neighborhood greenways coordinate with like school routes, and so like if the equipment already exists and people are used to it, could you transfer it to Safe Routes to School, since you know it's a lower cost to do that than to physical things. So
yeah, I think that's a good idea. We've like found a through line between our like socially distant Sunday parkways in our slow streets work. But you know, those parts of Peabot live very closely to one another. So I will find out, and if they aren't thinking about it, I'll pass this along.
And then Amanda had a question around, do businesses pay for whatever they build in their outdoor seating? you mentioned looking for grants for businesses on MLK and in East Portland. So wondering if those grants are meant to help offset the costs.
Yep. Currently, yes, they're paying for the most part for that. We have donations from Miller Paint. We have for painting the kind of space that we're reserving for BIPOC-owned businesses. We have some materials that we're able to lend businesses. Again, we're kind of applying an equity prioritization to that to make sure that those resources are kind of used where they're needed most. There will be an announcement in the next couple days about a large grant that we are working on to support these installations in the MLK corridor, so that we can actually bring money to buy materials, to buy tables, to buy other types of decorations and signage and things like that to make these spaces work. Also one thing is, I'll point is, I gotta give props to Irene Marion, our equity director, for securing the Frontline Communities Partnership Program, which is a $100,000 grant to pay in our community-based organizations to help us implement these programs better and more equitably and be more responsive to community needs. And so there's been, those are being distributed and programmed right now, but I can speak specifically to my work on MLK, that we're able to bring in financial resources to pay the Seoul District Business Association, which is centered on Black businesses support, SEI, and other community-based organizations to do outreach and help refine this program.
Great. Well, those are all the questions I saw in the chat. There's great comments in the chat too, so thanks for that dialogue. And the chat will get saved as part of the meeting record. Yeah, anybody else questions for Mike before he zooms away?
Yeah, let me drop my email in the chat here if anything else comes up. And yeah, thank you all. I'll be passing on this to the COVID team. It's good to see everyone. I know a lot of these faces, and I haven't seen them in a few months, so it's good to see you. And thanks, Gabe and Brianna, for inviting me to come today.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Awesome. I guess I'm going to take over the screen sharing again. Give me one moment here. All right. So we wanted to give you just a very quick update on a bunch of the projects that we're working on. With asterisks are the projects that we'll be diving into in more detail for our breakout. We're hoping to get some really specific feedback, but really just sort of a status update. I'll just blaze through these, and Brianna, if you want to interrupt me, feel free. Better NATO Forever. This is our permanent two-way cycle track on the east side of NATO Parkway, running along Waterfront Park. Is in final plans. That's still on track, on schedule, and will be under construction if all continues this fall. I'll also mention, not on this list, but we just started construction on the NATO project just south of that, so south of the Hawthorne Bridge down to 405. A similar project, sort of grander in scope with more maintenance aspects, has begun construction this week. So if you travel on NATO between 405 and the Hawthorne Bridge, you can expect some delays as we'll have crews out there starting next week demoing the median islands in that corridor. Southeast Hawthorne Madison we'll talk more about. We have a 95% plan set to share with you that I think incorporates a lot of the feedback we heard from the committee. Northwest Broadway, we are done with our plans. We have a work order that's been approved and signed, and we're just waiting for a window in our schedules of our maintenance operation crews to get that installed slated for this fall as well. Southwest Broadway, one of the requests from committee members when we were sort of in between our last in-person meeting and now was how can we advance Central City in Motion work more quickly in response to COVID. So one gap that's going to be sort of more apparent is the lack of a protected bike lane between the Northwest Broadway project and the PSU section of Broadway where we had our original protected bike lane. So we have a concept for Southwest Broadway, that or Middle Broadway, maybe you call it, that would connect those two that we're working through, and we just have one particular intersection with Clay that we need to do some signal planning around. So excited about that. MLK Grand, these are our transit priority lanes running up and down the east side. We have final plans on those, and we're looking forward to getting those stripes in the fall.
Hey,
Southwest.
Sorry to interrupt you, just because wanted to get a clarification from Jillian on this question, asking what happened from our last status update last year status update. And Jillian, are you talking about Broadway, Northwest Broadway?
Hi, I'm talking about all of the projects, the project names, it's just trying to see if we're still on track, and it looks like maybe you mostly are, but the way you're presenting it is different, and so it's difficult for me to tell. And this is why I'm here, and so I'm I don't know if.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair question. We did have a spreadsheet that we're using for tracking the project that we did not update for this meeting, but we can certainly update it and distribute it with the meeting notes. I appreciate you flagging that first, Jillian. We're also hoping, and this is a suggestion not just of you, but of other committee members, to have some sort of tracking that's up on our new website, so it's just in one place and also publicly accessible. So thank you for holding us to account on that.
I mean, and I guess overall, I would just add that, we certainly did see some delays when COVID first started, and continue to our internal maintenance operations crews are at a little lower capacity. They have more requirements around social distancing, and so so those things have certainly impacted projects.
Yes, sort of across the board, all the projects that we hoped to have delivered by our own crews internally have had schedule impacts, but we're in the process of standing up a new program to be able to deliver small projects with sort of an on-call contractor list, and we hope to have that as a tool in our toolbox come August or September. So that's what we'll be relying on to deliver some of these within the same construction season that we planned. And forgive me, it may look like I'm just sort of gazing off into the distance, but I have a very small laptop screen and then another screen over here, so I'm just looking at the one that I can read a little better. Collins Circle, this is a project we are spearheading just for Izzy now that he's moved to Goose Hollow. This is a transit priority. We are refining the design on that one. To have that in spring 21. The Flanders Greenway. Do you want to speak a little bit to this, Brianna? You're more up to speed on this.
Yeah, absolutely. So Flanders Bridge over I-405, as you may have seen, has started to get underway with construction. So it's a super exciting development. And we've been wanting to time the neighborhood greenway improvements along with that. So that bridge is slated to get completed in January 2021. And so we will be starting to work on the Flanders neighborhood greenway, probably starting with some speed bumps west of 405, and then coming back to do striping and signs and a little bit later this fall and winter. But it should all be done in time for that bridge to open. And we also, the other update on Flanders, and maybe this is a topic for our next meeting, but we have some developments around connecting the Flanders Neighborhood Greenway to NATO in the interim while the NATO crossing with the railroad and ODOT work, continues to get finalized there. So we have some design updates happening there that we'll be following up with the Pearl District and Old Town Chinatown to provide that. And Jillian, you're right, Flanders is not a CCIM project. It's just in the area, and we often get asked about it when we're at CCIM events. So I just figured we would update folks.
Next up is Southwest Salmon Taylor Alder. We haven't talked about this project in detail before with the committee. This is one that sort of rose to the top as a potential quick build or COVID response project, creating sort of an east-west corridor across from downtown to Goose Hollow for cycling. We'll talk about that one a little bit more in the breakout room where we've got a lot of work to do there. It's proving a little more challenging than we'd hoped. East Burnside, we are at final plans on this project and hope to have it in construction in the fall. This will extend the bus lane on the Burnside Bridge out to 12th Avenue and provide a new low stress bike connection off the Burnside Bridge eastbound to Ankeny. I'll also just note that our partners at the county were out on the Burnside Bridge yesterday, I think, and the day before, cleaning up the west end where we still had some conflict between right turning vehicles, buses, and bikes as we sort of just, so cleaning up some of the details from that plan. And then last, 4th Avenue, this is a bus lane, protected bike lane, paving maintenance project. This we have a revised concept plan to share with you today, and look forward to getting your feedback on it. Any questions about any of the projects that don't have asterisks that we can't address in any of the breakout rooms?
Jillian just had a clarification around timeline for 4th Avenue. Previously was 2020 for starting construction.
Yes, 4th Avenue is definitely a project that we are struggling to keep on schedule. So we're currently slated for a 2021 construction date. We are behind.
All right, well, unless folks have questions on projects that we're not going to go into breakout rooms, I will start to get us into breakout rooms. And please bear with me, I need to do this manually, but I really appreciate folks that filled out our little survey ahead of time. And so that'll help me kind of do this quickly. But just give me a second. And if there are other questions that maybe folks need to or want to chat out, that is probably okay right now. Get this set up.
This is Peter, sorry for interrupting. But are we going to talk about subcommittee at 6? It's on the agenda.
Oh, I apologize. That was next. My bad. We'll wait for breakout rooms.
Sorry.
It's good we talk about it first because, well, Peter, do you want to just speak to your proposal real quick?
Very briefly, the COVID is our future, and I've been exploring involvement as a planner and trying to figure out how to deal with it in a different world. And the Zoom has been highly effective. And I did go on the website, and our mission, if any of you have looked at it, is actually very well written. And I would suggest that everybody looks at our mission. And to do our mission, it seems like we need to do more than just meet once every 3 months or 2 months, whatever, and spend 90 minutes with you. And so I thought that we could beef up the involvement structure, which you have done very well, Brianna. I'm talking about the website. It's a lot better than I expected. And I thought that we could have some kind of committee structure where a project that really excited members of this group, they could basically dive into that project in much more detail over the period of time between our two meetings. I could talk on and on, but
no, that's perfect. So I think we've got the 3 breakouts that we've got today. I think one thing for you, one thought would be, if you have a particular interest or feel like you have help, if you have a perspective you think would be helpful, that would help our team, help our project, and you would like to continue to discuss it, we could set up subcommittees and just gather virtually and go over plans at a more regular basis. They would still be public meetings, but we could do them in a sort of less formal manner and sort of leverage the Zoom format, as Peter said. So if anyone is interested in that, you can contact Brianna or myself after the meeting, or feel free to mention it in these breakout rooms. And Jillian knows she'd like to lead the schedule subcommittee. That could just be I'm happy to answer scheduling questions anytime in any format. So any other questions or discussion about Peter's suggestion? Any concerns? Okay, so hearing none, I guess if we have sufficient interest in a project and a subcommittee, then we'll go ahead and set those up and engage the committee as we reach design milestones, so we're able to engage you at the times where it makes the most sense for the project rather than these quarterly buckets. All right, let's give these breakout rooms a stab.
All right, I think I got them all going. And there might be a couple folks who didn't say a preference. So I'll stay in this breakout room, or I'll stay in this main session for a minute and just get folks into other breakout rooms. And so Brenda and I will be in the Hawthorne one. Gabe's going to be in 4th Avenue. And then Zeph will be in Taylor and Salmon. So we're going to give folks about 10 minutes in that first breakout room. Then we'll come back together, and then we'll get you in the second choice that you had. So I will click to open all the rooms. You all will be zoomed out, and then I'll stay with folks that maybe aren't assigned yet, and I'll get you in a room if you want. All right, we'll see you in a little bit. And then maybe for folks that are still here, I will just kind of walk through and assign you to a group. So Clint, which breakout group would you like to go to?
4th Ave, please.
4th Ave, headed out. Ian?
You send me to 4th Avenue as well, please.
Yeah. Izzy?
Salmon, Taylor.
Okay. Jaime?
4th Avenue also.
Okay. And Jillian?
4th.
All right. And Nico?
Salmon, Taylor.
All right, headed in there. See you in a bit.
You leading this? Is everyone leading this?
Brianna and I are leading this, yes.
Hi,
Okay.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for joining the group. Let me just
Hello.
put our plan set. And I thought we could walk through things, I give some general overview, changes, this is kind of a big change that has been made from the last time you saw this plan. So I'm really excited to share it with you. And a lot of the feedback that you all had got incorporated, and it's a much better plan and result of that. So I will go ahead and share my screen. Can everybody see that okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, Zeph is asking me to do something to move somebody, so I'm going to try to also do that. Brenda, do you mind giving kind of an overview while I Zoom control?
Sure, yeah. So I think the last time we saw everybody, we were doing open houses in kind of late winter, early spring. Kind of crazy enough that we did have, I think, 3 open houses for CCIM right before COVID kind of shut everything down. So it was mostly from that outreach of looking at Southeast Hawthorne and the way that how to kind of best balance bicycles, buses, parking, and then general purpose lanes, knowing that we have, very specific bottlenecks kind of at 12th, and then at 7th where the bus turns, today the line 2 and the future the line 10. And so I think that's really where we've made most of the changes. Brianna, do you want to talk through them or?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that you mentioned signal changes as well as 7th and 11th.
No, well, so I just said that
Okay.
most of the changes were around 7th and then 12th and 11th.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, 7th and 11th. So yeah, one of the big, desires I think that we heard coming out of the open houses was really not giving up at the intersections and making sure that we had really great treatments for bikes and separating phasing. And so I will just show the 7th section here, which we did a lot of work on to improve it, and where we've landed right now is with this right turn pocket and pulling buses out of that right turn pocket. So it's actually a bus exclusive lane. And the big reason for that was that we can phase separate these right turns while also not to the detriment of travel times for buses. And so that was a huge improvement, allows us to hold these right turners while folks biking can go through this intersection. And I think it's a big improvement from that 60%. And so we are doing some signal modifications here at 7th to allow for that to happen. And there's, we were just looking at this today internally, and I think that there's some details around these bike turn boxes that we need to work out in terms of where they're located and consistency around green. This would be green hatch for bikes skip striping through this intersection, but consistency around where we need that and where we don't. And this is actually a place where we don't feel like we need that green skip stripe due to the there isn't a conflict because we're separating in time. So things like that we're still working through, but really excited about how this intersection is shaping up. And so kind of walking through, see similar treatments where we are, this is how we treat bus and turns adjacent to bike lanes, was a big piece of what we were working through in the last couple of months, and really trying to be consistent with what we're doing on Burnside as well and across all of our Central City in Motion projects. So this is a place where we'll actually add green skip striping through this intersection because there is this right turning conflict. So I'm just going to give you kind of some hot takes, and then I'll shut up and let you guys talk. Let's see, approaching 11th, that's another place where we have a right turn pocket here. And approaching 12th, this is an entirely new piece where we are proposing to put a ZECLA platform here mid-block. So this allows for buses to serve the stop in lane and removes that current bike bus conflict that folks experience here, where the buses are serving the bus stop here. And so super excited about also how this is shaping up. And I think it's going to be just a much better experience for everybody. I'm going to stop at least right there. I think there are definitely changes on Madison, which you'll see, but I have a feeling that you all want to talk maybe more about Hawthorne. So maybe I can pause and let folks jump in with comments and questions.
So I have a question, Brianna.
Yeah.
So awesome news about the, the fact that there's now a bus platform at 12th and Hawthorne. That's really great. And so is the bus then it will just stay in the travel lane then? So it won't be pulling into like the bike box area at all?
That's right.
Okay, awesome. That will be tremendous. And so
Yes.
much better for the pavement as well. There's big ruts there right now.
Yes, agreed. It's a great development. We're excited about it.
Okay. I had one more quick question about 7th. Also, really glad to hear about the signal, the separation of signal. Will right turns on red be permitted at that intersection?
They will not. No.
Okay. All right. That's good to know.
And if we don't have a sign that says, I will double check, but I believe that there should be a sign that says that.
I would say please have at least 3 signs prominently placed because people ignore those all the time.
Yeah.
If you have one that just sort of flips up in front of the vehicle, that would probably be the best way, but on a pole is also okay.
Yeah, the spikes that flip up, yeah, that'd be great.
Yes, that would be preferred.
I have a question about 12th, the new lane added, like on the between Hawthorne and Madison. There's like a section which seemed new to me. I know that was there, and just wondering how anyone would get. I mean, I love that for trying to get to going right on Madison to get into the Greenway network, but then I don't see how that helps anyone to get onto Madison if they're heading northbound there. Is there a plan to like put sharrows or something in the middle lane, or like to somehow assist people to get over and turn left?
Yeah, we were just talking about this today, and we've tried a couple of things here. We originally had, I think the last plans, a turn box for bikes. We also wanted to put a more high visibility crosswalk here. There is a crosswalk, but it's not the Continental style. Oh shoot, we're running out of time. Anyway, that went so fast. I feel like that wasn't 10 minutes, but. All right, hi folks. So sorry. I wasn't watching the clock, but I felt like that went really fast. I did set it automatically for 10 minutes.
That was very fast.
Very fast, lightning round. I think I might be able to just kick us back in those same rooms if we want to decide to have 5 more minutes. That sound good?
That'd be great.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do that. Okay.
That is so trippy.
Isn't that weird?
Busy. Like I'm like, where am I going?
Oh, that's crazy. Let me reshare. Sorry about that, folks.
Brianna, you're doing an amazing job. I have not had to do breakout rooms on Zoom, and I'm just very impressed.
Oh, I appreciate that. It's there's just a lot of action happening.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, there's people that are unassigned to breakout rooms. I think I'm gonna have to leave for a minute. Brenda, do you mind hanging out here for a second?
Yes, I can. Absolutely. I will say though, I'm going to punt this question until Brianna gets back.
That's fine. That's fine.
Very PBOT question about continental striping and how to get from 12th to Madison.
Hey folks, so sorry I didn't realize that you wouldn't all get reassigned to rooms. So I think a lot of folks were in the 4th Avenue.
Oh, hi again.
Hi, folks. So sorry. I don't know what happened.
You know, it wouldn't be a virtual meeting if we didn't have a future.
Let me try to reassign you to rooms. I think everybody was going into 4th, so I'm putting everybody in 4th. Hopefully. It's funny, Gabe, it says you're in 4th, but I see you here.
Oh no.
You're
It's
like
just
in 2
us.
people.
Hey, can I take advantage of this situation in this public meeting to be the only person present? That has never happened.
It's
with
being
any
recorded.
meeting before.
Well, no one is in the 4th Avenue rooms, so Gabe is the only one that's. Gabe, can you go down to more and click breakout rooms? You should be able to join on your own.
Yeah.
Okay, you should be able to assign yourself. Clint, I don't know what I'm going to do with you because I can't find your stuff.
It's all right. Nobody does.
Nobody does. Brenda is at least in the Hawthorne meeting, so I don't feel as bad. Huh, weird. Yeah, I can't figure out how to get you into a room.
It's cool. Do you want me to leave and come back?
Yeah, maybe actually. I'm gonna put you in the waiting room. Let's see if I can get that going. It's strange because it's like it has somebody that says it's you that's already in 4th Avenue.
Interesting. Let me
Oh,
quit Zoom and then I'll
Okay, come back in.
and then I'll just come back. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
We're hoping that the bus bike weave happens between 6th and 7th, and then cars aren't introduced onto Madison in the weave until Grand and 6th. So it kind of, it allows the bike bus weave to happen prior to the cars. Brianna, we were talking about Madison. I don't know if you can pull up Madison at 6th.
Yeah, absolutely.
That, it's an interesting design. It was, you know, certainly not the bestest option probably anybody would have picked, but I think with the how narrow Madison is and the fact that we had to keep the left at Grand and the bus stop had to stay at Grand. So here you go. So that weave really happens in the middle of 6th and 7th. But honestly, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if this bus only lane is used almost like Southwest Madison and that bikes can pass each other in the bus only lane. And if you don't want to, if the bike doesn't want to be curb tight, it can kind of be in that kind of space where the bus is when a bus isn't on Madison.
Will there be any sort of like posts or anything to like delineate the space between the bus lane or the bike lane, or is it just paint?
Right now it's paint on this plan. And I think the challenge that we're having is that just spacing, that there's just not enough width here. But we were just talking about this as PBOT was reviewing the plans, talking with Roger and had that same question, same idea of, is there a way that we can get delineators in here? And so I think we're going to look at that next couple of weeks.
Okay, that would be awesome because it's kind of tough having 2 weaves on 2 blocks, even though I suspect the bus weave will probably be easier to manage than the car weave. So,
yeah, that treatment, sorry, I'm trying to make sure I'm like understanding the diagram. So right now, that, so that where it becomes a bus only lane, is that actually that's taking a lane that was not previously a bus only lane, right? Because there's two lanes of traffic going in the same direction, and then the bike lane. That's how it is right now, right?
No, right now that's parking. So it's a bus only lane in the morning and then parking in after 9.
Oh.
There's
So this will be a full-time bus lane.
Yeah, so it's always 2 general purpose lanes right now.
Okay. I have left my house, I feel like, so little that I can't even remember how anything looks out there.
Yeah, there are 3 lanes further east that we were repurposing, there's parking that we were repurposing for a travel lane. So you might be thinking of that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that the big difference is we're just today, if you're a cyclist, anytime after 9 a.m., there's parked cars, then the bike lane, then the general purpose lane. And so what we're able to do here is have the bikes curb tight between 10th and 7th. And the bus is now the kind of buffer, that 11-foot buffer between the general purpose lane and the bicycles until past west of 7th, then the bus has to get to the curb in order to serve the stop at Grand. And we couldn't do a Zikla there because of the right turns. We couldn't move the bus stop away from Grand because of the driveways along Madison. So we continue to leave that weave, but we're just trying to get the weave to happen sooner for the bus and the bikes because they're more controlled. There's just less buses. Our operators are professional operators and they know how to, to always give bikes the right of way. And then the cars will have to deal with the weave with bikes between Grand and 6th.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think we're probably also going to run out of time here soon, which is crazy. But I wanted to get back to Tony's question about accessing Madison. And I'm happy to follow up with you more on this too. But yeah, we let me get back to that right sheet.
There it is.
The reason that we had to take this turn box out is just because it wasn't lining up appropriately for, between the crosswalk. There just isn't enough space for it. So we had to remove that, unfortunately. I think what folks are probably going to do is potentially hop on the sidewalk here to make that movement. It's not ideal, but I think, we just couldn't do everything here that we really wanted to, so. Hi, folks. Whew. Those breakout rooms are so quick and crazy.
Fast and furious.
Fast and furious. We were supposed to do one more. I just want to acknowledge we are at almost at 6:30. So I don't know if folks want to, I'm happy to stay another 10 minutes if folks want, but I don't know about our other presenters if they have other things.
How about we just get a show of thumbs if folks want to spend another 10 minutes with us. You can give us a thumbs up. There's absolutely no pressure. We can send out the concepts and the material. All the concepts and materials are on the website, and you're welcome to give us feedback or engage with us individually after. Okay. All right, I see a rough majority. Let's do one more breakout room for 10 minutes, and then we'll call it a night.
All right. I'm going to put you, yeah, thank you so much for bearing with me. I'm going to put you in your second choice breakout room. Which will take just a second. And if folks who don't want to stay, feel free to pop out. That is totally okay. So I'm gonna have to recreate these. Give me just a sec. Ugh. This is not going to be as fast as I thought it would be. So I'm getting Tony, Kara, and Reza and Zeph back into Salmon. Sorry, folks. Just sick.
Problem?
If you're not in the right meeting room, come back and I will get you into a new one. How about that? All right. Hey, Ian, sorry. Which one do you want to be in? Oops.
Can I go to Sam and Taylor?
Yes.
Me too.
Get you over there. Yeah, sounds good. Hi. Or you both should have gotten invites to go into those breakout rooms.
I did not see that.
Hmm.
Oh, I see where.
Okay, cool. Hey, Reza, which one do you want to be in?
Salmon.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. I think, Reza, you should see a notification to go join Salmon.
Yes, thank you.
Brianna, I was the only person in Hawthorne.
Oh, no. Well,
I don't know where you sent everybody else, but you didn't send me there.
everybody else wanted to be in fourth, I think, for their second choice.
Oh, okay.
Peter, Finley Fry, and Chris wanted to be in Hawthorne second.
They might have left, maybe?
They might have left. I think they may have just left the meeting.
Okay.
So,
Well, then I'm leaving.
Okay, that's great. It's so good to see you. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for bearing with us.
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
Oh, good. Okay, bye.